We are heading to the west. We have message for Mr. Goob from Infant Martian Head. Hey, A-Team, have y'all seen Mr. Goob from Pomona? Tell him Timtonic Nemo said what's up, though.
How y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. I had posted something earlier with Chris Cuomo after he did his show about David Grusch. But what I want to show y'all is his actual show and what they were discussing and the reason why he was saying that about David. Y'all check this out.
Whistleblower Lou Elizondo and News Nation special correspondent and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. Lou, do I have it wrong? Or is Grusch saying it's not just about technology? It's about organic, extraterrestrial beings that the U.S. government is aware of?
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me. I think what you are witnessing before our very eyes is the disintegration of perhaps the greatest cover-up in American history. He has testified before, for the record, David Grusch, about the existence of non-human intelligence. I had the honor and privilege to work and serve with David Grusch when we were both working at U.S. Space Force. And I can tell you what he had access to was very legitimate. But this is a big national, I think, a national conversation that's now just finally, I think, resonating with the American people, and they're waking up to the fact that, hey, you know what? The government's been lying to us.
Ross, Tim Burchett comes up and says what I always say. Don't hit me with a tinfoil hat. I'm not talking about Martians. I want to know what they're doing with our money and our thing. He says that. This guy comes up right after him and says, yeah, it is about little green men. They do have information about it. That's it. That is the biggest piece of information, if it's true, that I have ever heard in my entire life.
Exactly. So if the experts are saying it, if the government isn't contradicting what he's saying, then something's wrong. Because other governments are speaking of it. Mexico speaks about it a lot. And their government, when people speak out like Jaime Maussan, when he speaks out, his government doesn't go against him or says, no, he's lying. Our government is doing neither. They want to release these reports, but at the same time, they're not giving an explanation of what they're seeing because they actually don't know. So when an expert might say, like David Grusch, they're not denying what he's saying.
Well, g'day, Chris. I can tell you, having just come from a viewing of Steven Spielberg's fictional telling of Disclosure Day, it's quite something to see Dave Grusch talking about biologics, about beings, about different types of sentient, advanced, intelligent beings on the steps of the Capitol. And you're right, this is the next stage, the fact that we do know that the United States government is working with retrieved technology and beings. They do have retrieved biologics. That's from Dave Grusch on the record, under oath, before Congress. And he went so much further today. The thing.
And he's not the only one that said it. If you've ever read Behold a Pale Horse by Cooper, he spoke of that as well, that we do have crash UFOs, we have the bodies, we have that technology, we've been reversing their technology. That's been said for years and years. Presidents knew that, they know the information. They're not just releasing it to the public for whatever reason. It may be for panic.
That most worried me, and I'm sure Lou would agree, is the big revelation from Dave today was about foreign adversary intelligence. The fact that it's probably the Chinese, I suspect, are spying on our retrieval and reverse engineering programs. And Dave said he was apprised of signals intelligence information about foreign adversary UAP crash retrieval, exploitation and study efforts. So we're in a weird position where the Chinese or the Russians probably know more than the American public, And
Right.
most of the military and intelligence community and the president then frankly should be the case. It's appalling.
I totally get it, and I agree with you. But again, who cares? I had to put this at the end of the show, Lou, because I don't know how to deal with this. Like, if it's not true, then fine. I'm fine to have egg on my face that I reported it at all and that I gave it a platform because it's that important. And I'm looking forward to.
That's how I feel. I feel I would have egg on my face if I kept talking about UFOs the way I talk about it, and they're not real. That's my personal opinion because I look up every day. I see strange objects in the sky. Do I film them all the time? No, because I don't have my camera with me all the time. I know they're up there because I've seen them before. No matter what the government might tell me, I'm trying to get this out to those that don't believe. Make them a believer. All you got to do is look up. All you got to do is listen to the information that's coming out of scientists' mouth, or can't say astrophysicists because I don't understand Neil deGrasse Tyson. I do not understand him. I don't know what side he's on. Having such a big brain, I don't understand what side he's on because he knows as far as astrophysics, the numbers, the things that's out there. He's said it before. He's just never seen anything. So his belief is only, I haven't seen it, so I don't believe in it. But I know it's out there because there's more stars in the sky than there's grains of sand every beach on earth. Now, if you say that, you know you have a belief that there's something else out
How they say it's not true. But Lou, if it is true, okay, I don't care that the Chinese are spying on us. That's what they do. We spy on them. We all do terrible things, and there's lots of technology. If there is life off of this planet, that is the biggest headline of our lifetime. And that phrase that he just used, plasmoid, whatever, what is he talking about, Lou?
Yeah, he's referring to what some have speculated regarding orbs that have been viewed really since the 1940s during the Foo Fighter incidents, and then later over New Mexico skies, over controlled military airspace. And it seems that, at least in some cases, some of these orbs seem to have some sort of intelligence connected with them. And so rather than just being like, let's say, a probe or a drone, these things have been reported to almost behave and react in some cases.
there. Exactly. That's what a lot of people have been saying. These things are doing maneuvers. They could be controlled by something, maybe another country, Russia, China. Um, but the thing of it is none of them speak on it when they're over their countries. But if these are just probes, if these are something that's just spying on another country, why is it so hard to take them out of the sky when they try to shoot them down? What's so hard at saying, oh, that's just a spy plane? Or, yeah, that came from another country. We know that. Why is it so easy for the government to just spit that out? But they're not. What they're doing is these UFO files are no better than the Epstein files. They want to push out a little bit, to test the waters to see how far people will look into it, but they're not going to release everything that they know. Will they release underground bases? No. Will they say anything about they know that there's underground bases under the oceans? No. But eventually it's going to come out. You just can't hold this type of information with everything that we've had. You guys got cameras on every house, on every corner, every building. They're not all pointed to the sky, but there's a lot of videos coming up that these cameras are catching. People got cameras in their hand. They're catching a lot of things. What people do, the first thing they veer off to say is that's AI generated. Not everything is AI generated. Yes, there is a lot of shit AI generated. The things that we see in the sky, that's not AI generated. Because it's real hard to AI generate something in that immediate instant that you are filming that object in the sky.
As if there was ascribed to it some sort of I hate to say it, but life form. I
got you.
I was a more nuts and bolts guy when I was in the program. My focus was more on actual the physical craft.
Yeah.
But it has been speculated based upon observations that some of
Lou,
these
let's all agree on this. I got to go to break. Mr. President, you better clear this up.
Avi Loeb, astrophysicist and Harvard professor and one of the leading voices in this world on a scientific search for extraterrestrial life, and Jordan Flowers, the executive director of the Disclosure Foundation, an organization advocating for greater government transparency.
Now, I did something on Avi Loeb. Avi Loeb, the guy to your left, I showed it up maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, where he put an actual observatory, cameras and everything on the biggest globe in Las Vegas. That big globe that's in Las Vegas, they have an observatory basically on the top of it that can scan 180 degrees of the sky every day. So whatever they're going to see, Avi Loeb is going to know about it because it's going to go in his database. And it's outside. They put it on top of that orb or that globe because it's outside of the light aura. So it passes all the light. It's directly to the dark skies. And it's on 24/7. You go back into my channel and you can look that up. And I think they spent 1.5 million or something like that to build it on top of it. Now check that out.
On UAPs. Avi, I'll start with you. You believe Grusch? Because my understanding is he doesn't have like firsthand knowledge of this, like he didn't see it himself.
Well, thanks for having us. I haven't seen the evidence. It's all about the evidence. And it's possible that there is a retrieval and reverse engineering program within government of materials from crash sites from adversarial nations. That's very reasonable. We have to see the proof. And, frankly, it would surprise me if there are biological creatures that were retrieved, because that kind of information has nothing to do with national security and should have been shared with scientists long ago if there was such evidence.
I think you can make a national security argument. If there's extraterrestrials, it might implicate national security. But Jordan, I'll go to you. Representative Tim Burchett says if the public saw what he's seen, they'd be up at night. That was a quote, up at night. Nothing in the files reaches that level, right? Unless you think differently. Are we waiting for the later files? Is it going to be withheld? What do you think?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Jesse. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there will be more files, and I think there will be more interesting things that come out. That's what our contacts in Congress have been saying. I was fortunate enough to be standing right behind Representative Burke.
Okay. And I get that. He said there more files will be released. Okay. Will they be blacked out? Why don't they release all the Blue Book files of all the airline pilots that have ever seen something in the sky? Blue Book, they got rid of, right? Or they currently still have it, but they're not talking about it. Release the Blue Book for every pilot that you didn't fire after they said, yeah, they seen something in the air, or they seen a Foo Fighter. Release that book. Release all the pilots because they're right there in the sky. Release all the astronaut audios from NASA. Release all that. You're releasing some, and you're releasing them periodically. Just release the full thing.
Burchett at the press conference today, and that is the information we have. But again, with no context provided with these information releases and with no analysis, it's really difficult to distill what is happening here. Certainly, there must be intelligence reports that go along with these videos and these papers to help understand what it is we're actually dealing with.
Avi, do you think they know what it is? In other words, do you think that the government has proof this is clear alien spacecraft or life, or it's just misidentified natural Earth phenomena, advanced technology? Do you think they have a conclusion?
Well, since I'm a scientist, I follow the evidence. We haven't seen it yet. And based on what we know, it may well be that the intelligence agencies and the Pentagon are unable to identify craft from adversarial nations. Now, that's a very serious national security issue because they're admitting that they're not doing their job. And that means that it deserves a lot of attention. We need better data. We need to...
Exactly. What Javi Loeb is basically saying, if our government doesn't even know what it is that they seeing in the sky, we can't rule out that it's something from an adversarial nation spying on us or looking at. Could they be dropping? If you don't know what it is, and I've got videos of stuff coming out of these objects. What if that's chemical warfare that they dropping? You don't know, or you're not trying to seek what's in the sky. You don't know what's flying over us, so you're just not going to tell us. Either you know what it is, you're not telling us. It's another nation, China, Russia, Iran, or somebody flying orbs over the United States. Then it has to come from somewhere. But you don't know that either. So just release the files and let us look at what you've been filming for all these years. Since the time that y'all dropped the nuclear atomic bomb on Hiroshima is when we first started seeing these weird objects in the sky. Even though history says they've been around for thousands of years, we've only started seeing them in multitudes after we dropped the bomb.
Build better sensors. So there should be a program to figure out what these objects are. And, if at the end of the day, 1 out of 1 million objects turns out to be non-human made, that would be the biggest discovery ever made by humanity.
Jordan, do you think there's things they shouldn't tell us? Do you think there's things that shouldn't be released? Because I don't know. The skeptic in me says, are they really going to release everything they have?
No.
I think the nuclear analogy is really appropriate here. We know that there are atoms. We know that we have nuclear energy, and we know we have nuclear weapons. The reality of atoms is not hidden from us. I think that's really appropriate here. If there's things about the fundamental nature.
But they need to be talking about, since you're bringing up nuclear weapons, they need to bring up why so many military bases have had, over the years, objects come over those military bases and shut the whole base down. They don't talk about that. I'm going to show y'all a video in a couple days and bring it up where they talk about the people on the military bases say, object came over, shut down we couldn't push buttons, we couldn't do anything. Why? They're here to stop this BS with these nuclear weapons. They're not going to allow this planet to get nuclearized, and you guys think it's just affecting this planet itself and not surrounding areas. It's going to spread. So they want to stop it here. Y'all check there's a lot of videos going around. I'm going to put some up in a couple days.
Of reality, or that we are not alone. That is information that could be released, and we may be able to develop technology based on this. But certainly, if there are things that we need to protect for national security purposes or weaponization, that should not be released. So I think the nuclear analogy is really appropriate here.
Avi, I don't know if there's anything that's actually going to calm the conversation, right? Because it feels like to me the government's in a no-win situation here. No matter what they release, the UFO enthusiasts, those who have theories, they're going to say, is that it? There's got to be more. Like, it doesn't, I don't think there's a win-win situation here, Avi.
Well, let's keep our eyes on the ball. I think it's not, the goal is not to please the public.
That's true.
The goal is to figure out whether there are holes in the defense of the United States. You know, that's, if you are down to earth, that's really the concern. However, in the process of figuring things out, you know, there is a chance that there is some data that indicates that we're not alone, and that would be amazing. But I think everyone should focus on the national security issue at first, because it's a very serious matter.
Yeah, 100%.
Richard McCormick, since this is a Republican, at least Burchett is talking about this, what is he saying exactly is being covered up?
Well, you now realize he's a good friend of mine, but also we can be a little bit dramatic. We know there's been a lot of UFOs out there unidentified. That's what makes them unidentified. We don't know what they are. I'm a Marine Corps pilot for 16 years. I've known pilots who've seen things, but they couldn't explain it. That doesn't mean there's not an explanation. It doesn't mean that there's not aliens. But I don't believe there's a huge cover-up. I don't believe, just like with the JFK shootings when we released a bunch of stuff and there was no there. I'm just looking forward to find out as much as possible.
What do you mean there's no cover up? None at all. See, once again, this is where we get people that are one-sided. Basically, you might as well just say you don't believe anything they said. If you're saying there's no cover up at all, you just don't believe in UFO. And I get that. It's a lot of people be in my comment. They don't believe it. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is, listen, cup half full or half empty.
But I don't think anybody's really trying to cover this up. I'm looking
I
forward
keep hearing
to
this
seeing
all this thing about we want to find out as much as possible.
Yes.
Sometimes at some point we have found out everything there is. We're not going to all be allowed into Area 51 for obvious reasons. But Congressman Subramanian, I'm always taken during this conversation by the question of where is the there? Our government cannot count votes in California in 2 weeks, and we're expected to believe that for 80 years, multiple generations, they have covered up what would be the greatest secret in human history? I just don't think the government's that good.
Here's the thing that you're wrong about there, young man. They've covered up some of it, and they've let a whole lot go out into the disguise that is fake. Arizona, the triangle that came over Arizona, what they call the Phoenix Lights. Yeah, they spoke about it, but what did they do? They said, yeah, something was out there, but that was the Air Force training. That was one of their news articles they put out. They let it out, but it wasn't nothing. We seen it. Then you had the governor, I think it was the governor or the mayor or something, get on there and have a fake UFO guy. So they played it off. Do you know years after he did that, he came on the interview and said he made a mistake by playing that game with the fake alien guy on stage because he actually saw it and he actually believed it. But yet he put that fake a false narrative out to the nation. Going, oh, yeah, it's BS. Now look at them, they're clowning on stage. So that's what the government does. Yeah, they hide it, but they seep a little bit out, just enough to have you think, nah, that's fake. So, yeah, I get it.
I don't know if the government's that good either. I'll say that there is a lot of information that these agencies have kept that a lot of people want to see. They want to see exactly what's there, and they want that form of transparency. And I say, let's give it to the people and let them make their own decision. I've seen some of it. I'll agree with Congressman McCormick that there's definitely some unexplainable stuff, but that doesn't mean there isn't an explanation, or that doesn't mean the explanation that it's little green men in a spaceship. So, I say release all the stuff and let people make their own decisions.
Okay, but Rich McCormick, there's two answers to that. One is there's things we can't release because maybe it's U.S. technology or maybe it's technology from other countries that we're surveilling. It hurts national security to release, which of course then everyone says you're covering everything up. Are we to believe that any secret the public has a right to demand under the name of transparency?
That's a really good point, actually. As a military guy, I will say there are technologies we're probably protecting that we have that maybe could explain some of these unidentified objects, as well as technologies of foreign countries and adversaries that we want to protect. I think the more concerning thing is, where are the scientists going? We do know that several leading scientists have disappeared. That's the one that I'm more curious about, because that's a factual debate.
That's one of my next videos that I'm gonna do is about the scientists. Have y'all ever noticed there's 14 scientists that have just disappeared? But all of them were doing their jobs, or should I say, was basically on technology, advanced technology. I'll have to get into it because I'm fumbling around with it, trying to get the names out. I have it right in my face and I'll be able to speak on it. But for one lady that disappeared, she was with the anti-gravity. Give me a minute. Let me find this paper. One sec. Let me give you an idea of just what one of them. Okay, Dr. Nin Lee died in 21. Background Chinese American physicist, University of Alabama in Huntsville, known for controversial anti-gravity superconductivity theories. That's one. Amy Estridge, deceased June 22nd. Background exotic science, anti-gravity researcher associated with the Institute of Exotic Science. Michael Hicks, deceased July 30th, 2023. NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory research scientist. Comet and asteroid researcher. Now that's just three of them that I've spoken. I'm gonna do all these people had something towards research, towards technology. Now they just all disappeared. Kind of mysterious there.
Well, that is. I want to play for you real quickly David Grusch, who's been one of the big whistleblowers in this. Take a listen.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal bipedal type life to, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life. But there are several that the U.S. government is aware of.
Do either of you have any idea what he is talking about?
I've gotten that briefing from him directly, and basically what he's saying is there's different types of aliens that have been identified and we've made contact with.
Stop. I'm gonna give you one more person that's a disappearing scientist from what they just said right now. So, it's Amy Estridge. Amy Estridge did a video right before she disappeared or died. She spoke of multiple alien species. This is the Amy Estridge Exotic Science Anti-Gravity Researcher. She has a video up. I'm gonna put it in when I do the scientists, but she speaks about multiple alien species that we are aware of. And this is before she passed.
I'm a little skeptical. I think if you're going to make that kind of claim, you need some really hard proof, and I haven't, seen any hard proof yet. So, but that's certainly what he's saying.
I'm extremely
Rich
skeptical.
McCormick, yeah,
Yes.
we all are, trust me. What I'm skeptical about, though, is that this is all happening at exactly the same time there is this big movie from Steven Spielberg. I don't believe in coincidences in Washington.
No, I don't either. And I think this does coincide with a lot of drama, a lot of publicity. People love to have their claim to fame. But quite frankly, once again, even in the military, you've seen how people don't even keep secrets in top secret missions. We're making movies and a year later on things that we know we're not supposed to be talking about. I just don't see how they keep this a secret.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the point, that there isn't one, except in the movies, which Spielberg has always been able to bring to.
Okay. He says he doesn't know how they keep. Why nothing coming out of Area 51? There's only been a couple people that have came out and spoke about Area 51. Not a whole lot. I'm pretty sure there's got to be at least, would you say, 500 to 1,000 people working in Area 51 at any given time. There's only been, I think, one or two people that have even spoke on what's going on in Area 51. So yeah, they can keep a secret, and they've been keeping a secret. It's not that hard. You let a person know, hey, you go out there and say something, homie. This, and this gonna happen. You gonna make a person shut up until they don't have this, and this to worry about. When they lose this, and this, and they have nothing else, they'll come out and just start talking because they don't have nothing else to lose. So don't give me that point of everything should come out because, I mean, humans can't keep secrets. Yes.
Life. Gentlemen, thank you both. Reality check from both of you, Sue Subramaniam, Rich McCormick. One thing for tomorrow when we come back.
All right, my next guests may have opinions on that. They both have testified before Congress about seeing evidence of UFOs while on active duty in the Navy. Now private citizens, they are both advocates for greater transparency. Ryan Graves is a former Navy fighter pilot and founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace. And retired Admiral Tim Gallaudet is an oceanographer who served as head of the NOAA. He's the author of the upcoming book, Holding Fast in Heavy Seas. It is great to have you both here. Admiral, you were standing right behind David Grusch and Congressman Burleson as they were talking. The Congressman, Burleson, said that you and David Grusch are, quote, the most important people in this story because they endured an avalanche of stress, all because they believe the information belongs to you, the American. I have to think that felt good to get that sort of recognition that you had been pushing for so long for transparency.
Well, hi, Elizabeth. It's great to be on your show again. And I try not to make this about me, to be honest with you. And Ryan will say the same thing. This is really about the truth, getting the truth to the American people. So I was glad to see a bipartisan push today. That was quite remarkable to see a Democratic congressman and Eric Burleson commend President Trump for his move to transparency. So I think this is really remarkable, and I was glad to be a part of the event.
Right. I was really struck by the congressman saying, hang on, SEAL Team 6 assassinated Osama bin Laden with a Navy, some sort of super sophisticated Navy helicopter we never approved of and had no knowledge of, and that trillions of dollars in the Pentagon has sort of disappeared into thin air.
Yeah, that was an important...
Wait, Ryan, let Ryan do that, and then you can weigh in, Admiral.
Yes, I was just going to say, certainly, there's programs that are protected within Area 51, of course, and other test and evaluation areas. But ultimately, what the congressman is talking about are programs that are spending trillions of dollars, perhaps, that are completely unaccounted for across congressional budgeting, right? Mm-hmm. So for a democracy, a constitutional democracy, to be able to function, the voters need to be informed about the decisions that the government is making. If they have to decide between one congressman or one president versus another candidate, How can they do so if they're not even discussing the issues that are relevant in this case?
But Admiral, how is it possible that the Navy's actually using technology that Congress hasn't approved of or isn't aware of?
Well, right, that's the issue, and that's what we came forward today to speak about, is that this should not be any programs the Pentagon's conducting that are not subject to congressional oversight. And as Ryan mentioned brilliantly, this is what our Constitution mandates. So this is unacceptable, and that's what we all were there to call for today.
Well, Admiral, what did you make of what David Grusch said about the government being aware that there were several kinds of extraterrestrial life, including bipedal life, sentient plasmoid life? What do those terms even mean?
Well, Elizabeth, I don't have firsthand knowledge of the different types of non-human intelligences that the government is aware of. And actually, there are even books that have been published by former Defense Intelligence Agency officials about the investigations documenting these types of NA. I don't have firsthand knowledge of them, but there are declassified reports and books that document this. So the government is aware, and that's on the record.
One of those books is Behold a Pale Horse. You check it out. In that book, they let you know that Close Counters of the Third Kind was an actual event that occurred. Y'all didn't check that book out.
Ryan, Grusch also mentioned that during his time as an intelligence officer that he learned that the U.S. had a UFO crash retrieval program, but also that our adversaries had these same crash retrieval programs, most notably Russia and China. This is a national security issue. Our enemies, geopolitically, may be reverse engineering UFO wreckage to come up with new technology that might be difficult for us to combat.
If you go back in history, Russia has been doing that when they were the Soviet Union. They were reverse engineering UFO technology. That's why America was so adamant about when Russia failed, when the Nazis failed, we took some of the Nazi scientists that have been reverse engineering UFO technology for years. We'll get into that one day. But yeah, Russia, and I'm pretty sure China, has been doing that for years.
Absolutely, and perhaps not just our adversaries, but our allies as well. There's a lot of documentation from the Soviet Union and Russia, and interest shown in China on these topics as well. And ultimately, if this is a technology tree that we are withholding from our defense base, and our adversary is willing to utilize that technology against us, then our defenses against those technologies will be inadequate. And that's one of the gaps that is posed here for national security that we need to address. Never mind the fact that our adversaries, often such as China, have the ability to put a large amount of resources and people into specific problems, where the compartmentalized nature of how we operate at a very high classification level prevents mass diffusion of that information. Is what allows us to have an innovative ecosystem with all the different brains in the United States that we can bring to bear on different problems. That's not what we're doing right now, and we run the vulnerability of falling behind countries that are willing to invest more into this.
And why is it important? They called for whistleblowers to get immunity, to be able to speak freely, in essence. A lot of people have signed non-disclosure agreements. David Grusch said he was forced to sign one of those, and that there's a much more he can speak about, or would love to speak about, but cannot because of these non-disclosure agreements, these NDAs. They are calling for all whistleblowers to have these NDAs lifted. First of all, Ryan, you first, and then the Admiral, what are the chances?
Once again, she just answered the question on why a lot of this stuff isn't getting out. A lot of people that work for those type of governments have to sign NDAs. Basically, when they get into that type of technology, government technology, government information is basically like they get married. You sign this prenup. You can't say anything about what we're about to do underground under this mountain. And you leave this mountain, you can't say nothing. So of course it's not gonna get out. That's why they calling the people like David Grusch whistleblowers. Because they not supposed to talk. And they like, man, I need to talk. We need to tell somebody about this. So yeah, it's a lot of whistleblowers coming out now. For years, we had to take what the government told us.
Those will be lifted. I can't. That's a really tough ask, but the pressure does seem to be building.
It does seem to be building. You know, right now, those servants in the executive branch that have signed those NDAs are doing the lawful thing and adhering to the oath that they swore to protect that information. What this really is a battle between Congress to be able to lift those non-disclosure agreements or other restrictions that they might have. And that needs to come from the top of the executive branch. And that's exactly what
Meaning the president.
That group of Fine Americans was calling for today.
Meaning the president.
Exactly.
Admiral, I mean, these NDAs, you guys, Congress can call on all these people and they will get there and say under oath, I can't tell you because I've signed an NDA.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough hill to climb, Elizabeth, because if they just do it for UAP, that opens the door for a number of other topics, which are absolutely critical to have NDAs in place for national security. So, but I think the members of Congress that called for that are doing the right thing because, as David Grusch mentioned during the event, that he has been investigated for potentially violating, or allegedly, the Espionage Act, and that's what's putting the brakes on more UAP disclosure.
Sure, people are seeing he's getting harassed. He's been potentially.
The reason why people ain't talking about it. They're trying to convict them for even saying anything about UFO. Something that you can see clearly with your eyes. Maybe not the technology that they're reversing, but clearly if you sit down and look up in the sky, man, you're gonna see something. So these whistleblowers that's coming out, not only did they sign an NDA not to talk, now that they talking, they trying to convict them and mess with them, not to say anything. That's the part that I don't understand. Like, society is not going to find out sooner or later that there's something in our skies. I do not understand this for the life of it. This is how they've been doing this like this for years until people come out and speak of it. And still people start showing videos from all around the globe of what people are seeing in the skies. You can't hide it. There's no way they're going to continue to hide this. It's going to come out. For those that don't believe, boy, I've been saying it for years. My little channel, I've been trying to push that narrative that, hey, look up. Look around you. There's things that's happening that's not natural. And it's coming from above. We're too worried about looking at the next person that you see. What up? Or you want to take it into, mean mugging everybody. Look up sometime. Relax. Let your mind open up. I guarantee you're going to see something. Sooner or later.
Prosecuted, I'm not going to speak up.
Mr. President, I'm asking you directly, waive the non-disclosure agreements that still bind these patriots.
Pleaded the president directly, and we spoke with him directly. Congressman Eric Burleson, moments ago. He's on the forefront on the transparency push. Congressman Burleson, thanks for being back with us tonight. We appreciate it, sir. So let's start here. Who has these NDAs that you talk about, and why do they need to go?
Yeah, we've got a lot of people that have served our country. They've signed these non-disclosure agreements, meaning that they can't talk about subjects, and that's mostly a good thing. But when it comes to the topic of UFOs, UAPs, I think this is a topic that one has to question whether or not, you know, the intelligence or any kind of intelligence about intelligent life outside of this planet should be kept a secret. And so I think that the president has done an amazing job, and his administration is doing great work in releasing these files. But I think if they're going to get the answers that they're looking for, they're going to have to have people come forward. And a lot of these people have signed non-disclosure agreements.
Who are they? Who are they? Not with names, but sort of what kind of folks?
Yeah, so it's people, whether they worked in the CIA, worked for the Department of War, under military intelligence, from all facets of intelligence. Anytime someone is briefed in on a topic that is of any kind of security level, they've signed a non-disclosure agreement.
Huh. You were there on the steps with your colleagues who have been sort of at the front line of this. And one of the things that got my attention was Congressman Jared Moskowitz, a Democrat from Florida, other side of the aisle politically, but fighting for all this alongside you. Here's what he said, and then we'll pick it up on the other side.
We know about these advanced technology programs. We know they come out of Area 51. They did when we went to kill Osama bin Laden with an advanced technology helicopter that Congress never funded. There's trillions of dollars missing at the Pentagon. Where does that money go?
That caught my attention, Congressman, and I know that Republicans have often talked about waste, fraud, and abuse, right? Especially, or even within the Pentagon. How do you sort of square, okay, maybe we're sort of mismanaging some money with the possibility that it's being used for UFOs or UAPs? Do you believe that that's where some of the money is going?
Yeah, I absolutely do. In fact, I just left a hearing. It's still going. It's the DOJ Subcommittee of Oversight, chaired by Representative Tim Burchett. And we had people from the Office of Inspector General. We were discussing the fact that the Department of War hasn't passed an audit ever, and they don't plan to until at least the year 2028, which is just totally unacceptable. We discussed the fact that there's times where they spent $1,500 on a coffee cup, you know, and we've all heard about the expensive hammers and toilet seats that they buy. So where is that money actually going? And I think that that's what we were getting to the bottom of, is how do we really change the way we audit the Department of War and their expenditures to make sure that what they're purchasing is actually on the up and up.
I hear you. Let me leave you with this. The next release from the Department of War and the files, potentially here in the coming days. If there is a next release, what do you expect from it?
What I'm hoping that we see in the next release is more than blurry photos and videos from drones. I'm hoping that we get some archived information, some historical record documents. Particularly, what I've noticed is that the CIA is noticeably absent, the amount of material that is coming out of the CIA. So I would hope that we're seeing some action there, and also from the FBI. And I know that the FBI does have in its possession videos of some of these fiery glowing orbs that have been accounted for in those records. But I think the biggest smoking gun that has been released so far are the transcripts of the people that are U.S. persons, the senior intelligence officials that encountered glowing objects, glowing orbs. So and I've seen the videos that back that up.
Huh. Is it your belief then that the CIA is hiding something, or are you not willing to go there yet?
I'm not willing to go there, but I just think it's noticeable that of all the files that have been released, the Department of War has been aggressive in releasing their documents and their images and videos, but we're not getting that from the CIA yet. Hopefully, they will, they'll start performing better.
Congressman Eric Burlison, we'll talk to you again soon, as you know. Thanks for being with us tonight.
All right, so there you have it. That was a good video. David Grusch is a whistleblower. He's been all around the internet. He's been on news. He's trying to open up those files, get some better files than what they're releasing. These grimy images is not helping us out at all. If you check out my channel, I got a lot of videos from actual people that's filmed them with their phones. I'll be putting them up periodically on my channel. I hope you guys like this episode. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, man, if you're interested in this type of content. Once again, man, catch y'all on the next one. Peace. I'm out.
Do you think once we meet Mr. Goob, he can get me an interview on Kev Mac videos?